we've seen these three powerhouses, all of them arguing for the dissolution of major parts of the U.S. government and the overall destruction of the country through effectively destroying the function of society, because they're getting called out for their criminality and bullshit. Alex and his Sandy Hook accusations, which tortured the parents of children who were slaughtered. And of course, Don Jr. and Bongholio, who have been selling this book of bullshit for a long time. And, obviously the Trump organization's money is drying up, and Bongholio lost his radio show and had to pretend it had something to do with vaccines when it absolutely did not. Meanwhile, way across town, this guy, Kurt Schlicter, is on with Sebastian Gorka, telling us that this is the title of this one. It's called "The Left's War on America." So I don't know if you know this, but I don't know whether they would categorically consider me, quote, the left. Everybody plays fast and loose these days with left versus lefty versus leftist versus, neocon, enlightened centrist to right-wing douchebag. So Dennis Prager has COVID again. Oh my God. Well, I hope he's okay, but he probably got it from Dinesh. So this is, and I always like, you guys know me, I love to hear what my plan to destroy the world is, though. I always forget to write it down. And so it's good that there's sort of a cheat sheet on Rumble anytime I want so that I can watch and find out. Do you think Biden needs a cognitive test? No. The irony. The Gorka reality check. The important thing is that we don't talk like elitists to people. Mike's very loud. You can hear the left's war on America is Planned Parenthood, flames in the streets, and of course, Handmaid's Tale, which is actually women dressed like that to protest the anti-choice ruling that is going to be coming down from the Supreme Court. And of course, I'm sure that he only picked a Jewish senator on accident.
The worst war in American history, what was it? Was it fighting the Nazis? Was it in the trenches of World War I? Was it in the jungles of Vietnam?
None of those were in America, but I'm going to go with the Civil War, because it almost tore us apart. The Revolutionary War was tough, but we were fighting someone on the other side of the pond, as it were. And I guess there's a chance that the War of 1812 was pretty rough. I mean, ultimately, if you're on the receiving end of a musket ball or a bayonet, it's not fun.
No, of course not.
No, of course not.
It was the Civil War, in which 600,000 Americans were killed by their brothers, their cousins, and their neighbors.
Yeah, and all because they farted at the dinner table.
Is it going to happen again?
No.
If it were up to the left, yes.
So I think where he's going with this is that the left thinks that they're going to fight a civil war with like emotional pressure and kerosene tennis balls like Antifa and cans of soup, and that the right will just show up with all their AR-15s, and the left wants that.
Just look, the riots, BLM, Antifa,
Yeah, I can barely go outside. It's everywhere I go. Like yesterday, who hasn't gone outside and just like it? I mean, the whole world is on fire right now. It's shit.
Intimidation against the justices, the targeting of parents by the FBI, that does not bode well.
Yeah, it doesn't. It's pretty rudimentary, actually, as far as American history goes. We've had little bumps and ruffles along the way like this a lot, especially around legal rulings that are uncomfortable. I mean, if you'll recall, National Guardsmen had to be brought in to protect a black girl as she went to school for the first time against a state law through an action by the Supreme Court, and it got pretty dicey. Some people were even talking about we were on the verge of a civil war back then. As a matter of fact, it gave birth to a couple of attempts, namely the Manson family.
Who would win? Well, let's talk to somebody who's gamed
Who would win
this all out.
He's gamed out the civil war in America. All right, so while the Ukraine conflict is going on and Russia has invaded and is murdering Ukrainian citizens and then trying to claim victimhood for itself after invading someplace in a way that is comically ridiculous, this asshole has gotten out his crayons and is going to draw a map of what the Civil War would look like or how the states are going to separate.
Participated in protecting the streets of America from looters in the LA riots. I call him Colonel K, senior columnist at townhall.com, author most recently of the fabulous book, We'll Be Back. Kurt Schlicter, welcome.
The Fall and Rise of America. And he's live from an overblown office where no one has taught him the magic of f-stops.
Welcome to the Gorka Reality Check.
Thank you, Dr. Gorka. Great to be here.
So let's start. You're a lawyer, as being a soldier, a lawyer, an author.
Yes, it's the tinker, lawyer, soldier guy.
I got to start with a matter of the law. So there's the federal law.
I'm already bored. Now, I never knew that the total destruction of America and that the second Civil War would arrive. And I'd be shockingly bored. Yes, his name is Kurt Schlicter.
About obstructing justice, trying to intimidate judges in the...
So it protects the government process, obstruction of pending proceeding, 18 U.S. Okay. Or disturbing the peace. Yeah, to keep people from charging into the Capitol, because there weren't enough laws in the books that were distinct enough so that some of these assholes who went into the Capitol and tried to stop things, they weren't able to charge them on anything other than trespassing. They needed a much more specific law.
Judicial process. We have the code. It's very clear. It is a felony to try and do that. We have the same in Virginia. You're not allowed to do that outside the home.
Oh, they're just talking about picketing outside of a Supreme Court justice's house.
Of judges. So the Commonwealth, where 3 of the justices...
That's because of specifically around rulings that are directed at a particular party. Like their concern was like union people wouldn't like the ruling of a particular judge and would walk around in front of their house. That said, what they're basically saying is that because a bunch of women showed up and men who care about their rights showed up in front of a Supreme Court justice's house and started complaining about the draft opinion that came out, that's the same as January 6th. Basically, 6 of one, half dozen of another. And they'll crank this shit up in an attempt to downplay. Again, this is one of those, we'll get
live. And I was very clear. I live in the Commonwealth. And I asked Glenn Youngkin openly, they wrote it up in an article, what are you doing about it? Because I spoke to the state troopers, a very senior former officer who said, yes, Governor Youngkin can deploy the state troopers to protect those homes from the protesters.
Yeah, but they weren't harming their homes. They stayed on public property. They weren't throwing things.
What is going on?
What's going on is that they showed up there but did not act like maggots.
Colonel K, do we have rule of law in America?
Yes. Yeah, we do.
Well, look, I think the rule...
Look, I sure. I mean, obviously they did. There's a rule about it, and then people showed up, and then they went home, and not a lot happened, and free speech, and yeah.
Rule of law has been under attack. You look.
Well, yes, during the Trump administration, sure.
At the massive overreaction and subsequent persecutions of the January 6th people, and
yes, the massive overreaction. I mean, who hasn't beaten a cop with a Blue Lives Matter flag? I mean, honestly. If I had a nickel for every time I tried to gouge out a cop's eye just because an election didn't go my way, I'd have 32 cents.
And then you look at this. The law is clear. Now, I think there are constitutional challenges to the law.
Right. Watch this asshole have to tie himself in a knot about this. Because as free speech and First Amendment absolutists, there's an issue with this particular law because if it was turned their direction and used against them, they'd be, crying foul. But since it's its current state. I mean, you got to follow the law as it is right now, unless, of course, you're storming up the stairs at the Capitol and beating up cops along the way.
The way to do that is to go file a lawsuit saying, hey, I want to protest in front of Amy Coney Barrett's house, and you guys aren't letting me. I think that's unconstitutional. And then we can litigate that.
Yes, litigate it and stuff. Just, wait. Just hang out. Let it, you know what? Since it's a judge, let another judge decide whether you have the right to protest in front of a judge's house of someone who specifically showed up to deny your rights. Yeah, that works.
That right now it is
who wouldn't wait for that?
Unlawful, and I see federal officers out there not enforcing the law. I see Glenn Youngkin not having state officers enforce the law.
Yeah, I think you're onto something. The Republican leadership in any of these situations just fucking sucks. I mean, they had one job, right, Schlicter?
I
can't even. In my head, I'm like,
I would like to know more. I'd like to know the reasoning behind it. Maybe there is a good reason. Maybe there.
Yeah, who knows? It could be good or bad. I mean, he's a Republican, and so, but he's not stopping them from being in front of Amy Coney Barrett. And I think that
standing more than 100 feet away or some other issue. I don't know.
Well, I'm glad he brought you on to talk about it. That's good. I'm glad, because that's what what the fuck, what network is this shit on? Is this on Newsmax or OAN or RAV? Does anybody know? Whatever network this is on, that's what I turn to for less information that I already have. If it's kind of like the opposite of Google. It's like if somebody made a search engine, then that no matter what you typed in, it just went, beats me.
Glenn Youngkin's earned a little bit of the benefit of the doubt.
No, I don't think he has.
Because he's come in and done a lot of great things in Virginia.
Sure.
But I'd like to hear more, and it's a very...
It is Newsmax, Lalo? Yeah, okay.
On
By the way, don't forget to like and subscribe, give a thumbs up, support the show, Patreon, and then, of course, there's Venmo right there if you want to help the show. And don't forget, and then, look, we're trying to keep our subs up. 1022, we're up to 1030, and we're trying to get to 2,500, and I'm just pointing at that. No pressure.
Obvious.
You can also, if you're on YouTube, you can become a member there as well. That works as well. Just say it. That's potential. It fills up the little cup over here. See that thing? It makes it dance. Oh, crap. Sorry. I hit the fucking dabba. America's new abnormal. Shut up. Okay, hold on.
Of the law. So judges in the job, so the Governor Youngkin can deploy the state troopers.
The massive overreaction and subsequent persecutions of the January.
Yada.
Federal officers out there. Not the reasoning behind is he's come in and that's between the way that people on one side of the political aisle are treated and the way other people are being treated on.
Yeah, it seems so unfair. They're just like letting everybody, the rioters, go, not because they really are, but because I'm saying they are from the Antifa, and BLM riots, so-called, over the course of the summer of 2020. Never mind that a bunch of them have been prosecuted, and then there are warrants out for a bunch of them on the federal and state and local level. But let's pretend that doesn't exist so that we can say that only the Jan 6ers who, carried a Confederate flag or beat cops are being persecuted by the regime.
On the other side of the political aisle, we can't have that. That is poisonous to a free country. That is,
by the way, at a certain point, if you don't have something to say, you need to kick up the rhetoric as much as possible so that there's a quotable title.
Dual track system of justice is one of the most deadly infections, the deadly pathology.
See, deadly infection, deadly pathology. It's the dual tracks of it. So I'm still bored.
Inside the body politic for a free country, it can't exist, and it kind of looks like it does now. And we've got to
look out. It kind of looks like it does now. Kurt Schlicter.
Address that.
You've written several very successful non-fictional works. You have your regular column at townhall.com, but you are known for this series of 6 Kelly Turnbull fiction novels, the last one being Split.
He said 6, not sex. People's Republic, Indian country, wildfire, split, crisis, collapse. Oh, so he makes shit up. All right. Well, I'm a big fan of fiction. By the way, I'm sure if have you thought about calling Kevin Sorbo? Because I'm sure he would love to have. He could probably get the rights to your books, and then he'd have 6 more projects no one wants to do.
Civil War type scenario in America.
Yeah, it's whacking material. It's like a cross between the Turner Diaries and a Penthouse letter.
Why did you write these? Are you afraid of this, or is this a clarion call and a warning, Kurt?
I think it's because there's an audience of gullible assholes who masturbate to the idea of fighting another civil war, and he's found an audience.
Okay.
Inside the war on America. There isn't one, just in case you haven't looked out a window lately. I don't want everybody to panic like, Jesus Christ, look at the Chiron.
Well, I think both of it. Now, I served in Kosovo in 2005, right after the war, not soon after. And what I saw there was kind of shocking. Look, I'm just a California suburban kid with roots in rural Pennsylvania.
Yeah, I'm just a Kentucky redneck who went to high school in Chicago and packed all his shit in his car and drove to LA when he was 18 years old to chase his dream. What the fuck do I know, Kurt?
I'm a very normal guy, and I
citation needed.
And I grew up in a very normal time, kind of
No, there's never been a normal time.
The 70s, 80s, 90s.
That wasn't normal. There was a lot of dude, we hid under our desk from nukes. We had the Iranian oil and hostage crisis. We had like the spike of gang violence in the early 90s. The big one. If he lived in California during the big one, I'm pretty sure. Like there was never normal. Fucking Iran Contra. Everybody bitching about we haven't seen inflation like this in 40 years. That was the 40 years ago he's talking about, and it was 6 points higher than it is now.
And then I started seeing things fall apart. And then I saw what happens when things really fall apart.
No, you didn't. You're sitting in an air-conditioned office, fuckwad.
In the Balkans. In
the Balkans. And if it can happen in the Balkans, I mean, what's the difference?
Gotta say, it really affected me. You walk through a ruined village where every building's knocked down, and it wasn't done by artillery, it was done by people with sledgehammers, because they hated their neighbors that much. And it has an effect on you. Yeah, it's a warning. The way we solve problems is the way you and I were just talking about. If you don't like a law, you go to court and you challenge it.
Right. You don't run up the steps of the fucking Capitol, beating cops along the way, building a gallows on the fucking lawn, and threatening to murder the vice president, you piece of shit. Holy fucking hell. What? Get the hell out of here. I'm sorry. We are peaking the irony meter.
Yeah. You don't try and intimidate judges.
Get the fuck out of here.
Into going your way.
They drew chalk outlines for dead women. They drew fucking hangers on the ground because they were concerned women are going to die from illicit and illegal abortions. They are concerned for the lives of women in general, in specific. And they went there to cry out and to draw on the fucking sidewalk. They didn't bring a fucking gallows, dum-dum. Tell you what, the minute one of these groups builds a gallows on Clarence Thomas or Amy Coney Barrett or Alito or Roberts or Thomas's lawn or Kavanaugh's lawn, that fucking put on your headset like a day trader from 1994 and call me.
Argue. Look, I don't mind a fight. I was a soldier. Sometimes you gotta fight.
Right. That ain't this.
But but that's
hype train. Thanks, Twitch.
It's not how we're supposed to resolve our differences and resolve our politics.
Right. So we agree. January 6th was fucked up. And people shouldn't do that. And if they do that, they should go to jail. Right?
The thing is, Dr. Gorka, we have this wonderful...
doctor.
gift that we were given by the
Unless unless he puts on a rubber glove.
founders. It's the Constitution. I have, in my studies and my travels, I have yet to see anything that approaches it as a guidepost for living in a society and a way to govern the.
Right, which is why you don't charge up the steps of the fucking Capitol and try to stop the peaceful transfer of power in the most important democracy on the fucking planet, dum-dum. All these assholes are doing is arguing against letting anybody from the Jan 6ers out, and if not, putting more of those assholes in jail.
Society. It's not perfect, but we need to do it. We need to embrace the Constitution, embrace the rights that it talks about there, not rights it gives, because God is the only one who gives us rights. The Constitution merely acknowledges what already exists.
Yeah, but your God-given rights are your rights to pursue those things, not to have them. Government is there in case your pursuit falls short sometimes. If you're not, let's just say the Soviet Union exists, and you, Kurt, and Seb aren't on your own able to marshal up enough of a military to fight back so that they don't destroy your system of government and therefore steal all your intellectual property, kick you off the air for criticizing the government, which you would have no right to do, or just kill you because you're taking up space and you're not in the inside circle, the government would step in and go, we got this. We put a military together so you don't have to. And if you want to join, you can, but there's no forcible joining anymore. Like that. No, that's not what you're talking about.
And the problem is there are a lot of people who aren't getting what they want.
Yes. Some of those people are in jail over January 6th. Go on.
And then they want to throw the Constitution out, whether it's throwing out a filibuster, which is not in the Constitution, but
But what?
It's kind of an established precedent.
Yeah. Constitution, established precedent. They're basically the same thing. It's like, it's not in the Constitution specifically that gay people can't get married, but it was sort of an established precedent for a while, just like Roe v. Wade was. But, if we want it, I don't know, we're just on either.
Throwing out the Electoral College, limiting free speech.
Yeah. You're getting a call. It's the Electoral College on the line.
It's it's a real problem.
Yes. So is finding the Do Not Disturb button on your phone.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right.
No, he's not. He didn't say anything worthwhile. Yeah, I'm tired of these assholes finishing up other people's thoughts by saying you're absolutely right. It's so true. And
it's an amazing gift that's been given us, this Constitution, unlike any other in the world.
And you would probably be hesitant to storm the steps of the primary government building and interrupt the processes written into that Constitution if you,
It is the protection, it is the enumeration of our God-given rights, and we have to protect that document and that principles, and we thank you for doing that in and out of uniform. The new book is...
Dude, look, I appreciate everybody's service or whatever, but he was in Kosovo after the fucking fighting. Stop acting like he threw himself on a fucking grenade. Meanwhile, these assholes would shit on Tammy Duckworth all afternoon.
We'll be back. That is the nonfiction by Colonel K. Read him at townhall.com. And of course,
why are you pointing? That's just impolite. And I'm going to go with that's not an actual copy of the book. That's a mock-up. If it's in hardcover, I'd be shocked.
Incredible series of Kelly Turnbull adventure novels.
Boring.
Next, we're going to talk to one of the real...
Oh, I could answer that question. No, it's not. You're welcome.
Warriors for MAGA on Capitol Hill and ask the key question, who's winning? Is MAGA winning, and can we win the fight to protect the unborn? That's next on the Reality Check.
Yes, you're going to win the fight to protect the unborn so that you can kill them once they're born in a myriad of ways. And I guess get a prurient interest in, out of watching them perish. Is that the fetish, Seb? Fucking hell. You're watching Housemarque's Mega Worldwide. You know, they post these clips, and I don't cherry pick pieces out of them. I do the whole thing. That's what they put up as an example of their argument. He had this dude Kurt Schilling on to talk about how the Jan 6ers are an example of people expressing their constitutional rights, even though they went there to violently interrupt a constitutional process. Meanwhile, people who picketed peacefully outside of a Supreme Court justice's house by drawing chalk outlines of of women on the street and coat hangers, those people need to be prosecuted because they're no different than BLM and Antifa responding to George Floyd 2 years ago. Jesus Christ.